just a hack. He's just an absolute hack. And he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
Alabama facing Texas. I said after getting to see what Georgia was capable of that we pretty handedly knew that Georgia was the best team in the country. They beat a team that was ranked 11th, that maybe could be a top 25 team, but was arbitrarily ranked 11th at the start of the season. They embarrassed them on a neutral site ground, completely embarrassed them. This is now Alabama's opportunity to push back and to prove their reasoning on why they should be the number one team in the country. Going all the way to Texas, playing at the University of Texas in Austin, and embarrassing a very reputable program, one that is considered to be one of the favorites to win the Big 12. I firmly believe that Texas does not stand any bit of a chance in this game. Understandably, Steve Sarkisian has developed this program, has added some nice pieces, but they are still a year or two away from being as highly competitive as they possibly could become. They are not at that point where they can directly compete with a program like Alabama. It is going to take multiple years of recruiting for them to get to that point where they are actually capable of competing with a program like this. And Colin, you say it perfectly. Texas has a minuscule chance of winning. Maybe they cover. I think the spread right now is about 20 points from last I saw. I'm likely going to still, though, take Alabama to cover in this one. If for whatever possibility Texas is capable of being competitive, somehow keeping this close, keeping it within a score, it is going to require a dominant performance from Quinn Ewers and his star wide receiver, Xavier Worthy. Worthy was really good last season, and he is potentially a very strong player this year. He looked really nice in the first game that they played, albeit not against a very competitive opponent, rather. But they're going to need to outscore Alabama if they want to win. They are not going to defensively be capable of slowing down and stopping what Alabama brings to the table offensively. They have a strong offensive line, but the coupling of Jahmyr Gibbs and Bryce Young is going to be the most dynamic, explosive duo in the SEC between a running back and a quarterback. We got glimpses of it last week when they played Utah State, and that's not really a good example of what they can fully be because it's Utah State. But now it is the perfect proving point for Alabama to say, hey, you guys were all excited about Georgia. You were all excited by how badly they dominated, decimated Oregon. But we're here to prove that we can also knock around a historic, reputable program instead of doing it on a neutral site in a stadium that is basically in your backyard. We're going to travel to them and we're going to kick their ass. That is what Alabama is going to be thinking. That is what Alabama is going to be walking into this game. It's almost ironic that the approach for Alabama is, now we need to show up to beat Texas. It almost should be, we need to show up to prove that we're better than Georgia. That is how vastly different and how much of a lopsided advantage Alabama has against Texas, is that their focus right now is going to be a seesaw back and forth each week to prove who is the better team by embarrassing their opponent. Until we get to the SEC championship game and we can actually provide proof of who is the true king of the SEC at the end of the year. Both these programs are built very similarly. Very dominant defensive talent. We're going to get to see Will Anderson go off against a battered Texas offensive line. He might even have to face that one kid who's a freshman that's out there, which I am blanking on his name, but I am praying for that kid that he has to face Will Anderson on any reps during this game. He might end up with 3 to 4 sacks at the end of this game. But I don't think anyone should be shocked. If you're a Texas fan, be realistic. Be realistic. If you come out of this game and it is a 20-point loss, slightly less than a 20-point loss, and if it is a 17-point game, let's roughly say, that is an accomplishment. That is how much of a difference there is between these two programs when you compare the two rosters.